The discovery of the bodies of two mutilated victims shocked the residents of Mimika Regency, Papua. After being investigated by the police, the motive and the modus operandi behind the case were revealed. The victims turned out to be 4 people, while the perpetrators numbered 9 people. Economic factors are suspected to be the motive behind the sadistic murder. So far, investigators from the Indonesian Army Military Police have named 6 soldiers as suspects in this case. Meanwhile, 4 civilian suspects were handled by the police. Chronology: the perpetrators and the victim met in Budi Utomo, New Mimika District, on August 22, 2022 at approximately 9:50 p.m., shortly before the murder took place. After being killed, the perpetrators put the 4 bodies into the victim's car to be dumped into the Kampung Pigapu River, Awaka District. Before being dumped into the river, the 4 victims were all mutilated and put into 6 sacks. After throwing the victim into the river, the perpetrators then set fire to the car. The 9 perpetrators gathered again the next day to distribute the victims Rp 250 million, which was originally to be used to buy weapons from the perpetrators. On Friday, the 26th of August 2022, the community and the police managed to find one of the victims. Then, on the same day, the police found one of the black Avanza cars rented by the victim at Budi Utomo. One day later, on Saturday, the 27th of August 2022, the community found another body in the Kampung Pigapu River. Police again found the body of a mutilated victim in the Kampung Pigapu River, Awaka District, Mimika Regency, Papua, Monday, the 29th of August 2022, night. Police are still looking for the whereabouts of another body.
Pakistan's floods submerged a third of the country and claimed more than 1,100 lives on Tuesday, the 30th of August 2022, making relief efforts all the more urgent for tens of millions of people affected by the relentless monsoon rains. The rains that started in June caused the worst flooding in more than a decade. As a result of the floods that occurred on August 26, 2022, Pakistan declared a national emergency. At least more than 30 million people were affected by the floods that occurred in this country, which belongs to the South Asian region. Floods that occurred in Pakistan occurred due to a very wet rainy season this year. This country is experiencing the monsoon season or rainy season with a shorter time than India. Active rain lasts a month and a half from July to August. So far, this season, Pakistan has received more than 3 times the usual rainfall. The climate crisis was the main cause of the massive floods that devastated Pakistan. But a combination of factors such as vulnerability to poverty, many steep mountain slopes, broken dikes and dams, and natural climate variations are the reasons why Pakistan's floods are so deadly. There are a number of important factors that have contributed to the high death toll from Pakistan's floods. One of them is the destruction of the river embankment due to not being able to accommodate the fast-flowing water from the steep slopes. Many people think that the volume of water that will appear will not be so large from the previous floods. They didn't prepare. Moreover, deforestation also increases the speed of rain runoff in some places.
Reconstruction of the premeditated murder case of Nofriansya Yosua Hutabarat, Tuesday, the 30th of August 2022. The reenactment process presents 5 suspects in this case, one of which is Inspector General Ferdy Sambo, who is suspected of being the mastermind of the premeditated murder of his subordinates. Then, 4 other suspects were also present, namely Richard Eliezer, Ricky Rizal, Kuat Maruf, and Sambo's wife, Putri Candrawati. There are a total of 78 reconstruction scenes. The scene reconstructs events in 3 locations, namely the official residence, Sambo's private house, and Sambo's house in Magelang. The situation in Magelang's house will be demonstrated with 16 scenes. The events include the events on July 4, 7, and 8, 2022. The private house's 35 scenes cover the events on July 8 and the post-murder of Joshua. Then, at Sambo's official residence, 27 scenes related to the murder of Joshua will be held. One scene shows Putri sleeping in her room. Then, Joshua's stunt double, who was dressed in white, sat on the floor beside Putri lying down. No further details of the scene were explained. However, it is suspected that the incident was the trigger for the shooting. As Sambo confessed earlier, he planned to kill Joshua because of an incident that hurt the dignity of his family in Magelang. The reconstruction also depicts a scene in Sambo's room on the third floor of his private house, which allegedly occurred shortly before the shooting or Friday, the 8th of July 2022. In the room, at first Sambo and Putri sat side by side on the sofa. Putri looked down. Before long, he seemed to be wiping his hands over his face. Sambo then hugged Putri. He also kissed his wife's head. Putri also welcomed Sambo's embrace. For a few seconds, she buried her face in her husband's arms. After that, it seemed that Sambo took out a handy talkie communication device. Allegedly, he called 3 of his subordinates who have now also been named as suspects. An assassination plot against Joshua was drawn up in Sambo's private home. The process of planning the murder was also witnessed by his wife. The reconstruction process also shows Richard Eliezer taking a gun from a Sambo car drawer, which he then puts in a small sling bag. After that, Richard Eliezer went to the bench opposite Sambo's house. There, he met 2 of Sambo's other subordinates, namely Ricky Rizal and Kuwat Maruf. Allegedly, shortly from the scene, Joshua was executed.
The deadly accident occurred on Jalan Bekasi Barat, on Wednesday, the 31st of August 2022, afternoon. The accident involved a container truck, 2 motorcycles and a pickup truck. Chronology of the deadly truck accident in Bekasi, which left 10 people dead and 20 others injured. The truck initially lost control until it hit the shoulder of the road and hit a bus stop. At that time, the bus stop in front of the elementary school was filled with children waiting to be picked up after school. Furthermore, the truck continued to drive until it hit a communication tower pole. The pole collapsed and hit a number of other vehicles. Based on the findings in the field, overall, the total number of victims in this accident was 33 people consisting of children and adults. Of the 33 people, 10 people died. 4 of them are children and 6 others are adults. The police have confirmed that the condition of the iron transporting container truck is not in a state of failed brakes. When evacuated from the scene, the truck was in good condition. In addition, traces of braking were found around the crash site. Based on police investigations and the National Transportation Safety Committee, it was revealed the factors that caused the fatal accident. The driver admitted that he was sleepy. Police found no indication that the driver was under the influence of alcohol or drugs. There was more than double the overload found on the trailer truck. The load was 55 tons of steel and concrete.